The news about the EA buyout put a spotlight on feelings I've had for a long time now. When I first heard of them, I had a lot of hope for creator programs. If they were done right, they'd be a force for positive change in any game which manages to foster a vibrant community. I've been in several, and there have been some good sides to them, but there are many downsides too, and even the best of them never quite live up to their potential. At this point, I think I'm kinda done with them entirely. Let's talk about it. Before we get to the details, there's an important question to ask. Why would anyone care? If they worked how they were supposed to, content creator programs would benefit everyone involved. Content creators, game developers, and the players themselves. When a game builds up an active audience, it's natural that some of them will want to create content exploring the experience. In-depth guides, theories or story analysis, challenges or speedruns, or even just the fun of playing the game with other people by your side. There are a ton of potential directions to take, and people build entire careers covering different facets of their favorite games. This content makes the player's experience with the game more vibrant. Fans expect reliable information and guides, and it's always good to hear a variety of perspectives. And for the people who really get into a game, a healthy community of creators talking about it in unique ways and exploring everything it has to offer can keep it fresh and exciting for far longer than it would have managed on its own. This is all obviously something the company would want. Ask any consumer-focused business, they value engagement, retention, and name recognition, and one vital thing they struggle to convey is authenticity. It's undeniable that creators can fill that gap. Content creator programs are supposed to foster that kind of environment. Successful creators are invited to join, and they gain perks like early access, a place to network with other creators, avenues to provide direct feedback to people inside the company, codes or merch to give away, and often some small cash payments to help support their work. The community benefits too, if a little more indirectly. Early access helps ensure initial guides are accurate. Creator feedback can be a key path for community responses to be funneled back to the developers, a way to find some signal in amongst the noise. And of course, those financial bonuses help fund the creation of that same content the community found engaging in the first place. The company gets to grow their game's audience in a much more organic way, encouraging authentic voices who enjoy what they created, rewarding genuine passion and creativity. They could use these connections to build towards a game which will truly last. Unfortunately, we do not live in an ideal world. Even if everyone engages in this in good faith, there are some inherent problems to the whole thing. The most obvious one is that it tarnishes the authenticity it seeks to encourage. There are at least some people out there who will cynically shill a game in order to earn some cash, and while not everyone is like that, viewers have no way to truly know whether any specific creator is being honest in their thoughts. As a creator, even if you always give your unfiltered perspective, the incentive structure of creator programs is always going to add a question mark around everything you say and do. Some would argue that monetary incentives always lead to creators' opinions being biased, but while that is the case for many, for some subset of the creators, I think it's more subtle than that. It takes monumental time and effort to build up your platform to the point that you can take part in these programs. You're likely to end up in programs for games you're already excited about. Despite the flawed incentives, there will be people in every program who genuinely do believe what they're saying. Creator programs do tend to lack more critical perspectives, but that is at least in part due to self-selection instead of outright dishonesty. Though that falls apart with the current crop of programs where existing creators are invited before the game is even released. Another issue is that it sets up a feedback loop which favors larger creators and makes it harder for new voices to gain traction. Take early access, for example. Creators who don't get invited are either stuck playing catch-up or have to go off and create some other types of content since they simply cannot compete with the people who are in the program. Back when I created custom content for The Sims, the creators who got early access had days or even weeks of head start to customizing and remixing any of the items in every new release. To even come close to catching up, I pulled many sleepless nights to get my take on the new items out as soon as I could buy the newest DLC for myself. And in this case, it's not so much that I felt I was competing with other creators, it's that I was worried that someone who had the same idea as me would release theirs first and I would get accused of copying despite having come up with my original ideas. Despite any good intentions, creator programs amplify the voices which were already the loudest and give them significant advantages over smaller creators who don't yet make the cut. And of course, some of the potential benefits of these programs tend to be just completely lost along the way. One common experience fans of any long-lived game will recognize is the pain of some obvious feature which just never gets added to the game, no matter how much players want it. Often, the most frustrating part is that it's impossible to find out why. Is that feedback getting lost in the noise? Is it only relevant to a small but vocal minority, and most players could not care less? Is it on the roadmap but just not deemed high enough priority? Or is there some technical issue which would make it impossible to implement? A creator program could help solve this communication issue. Creators are part of the community, and while it would be important to balance their feedback with broader perspectives and sentiment analysis, they could be key to making the community feel heard. It's obvious why the devs cannot respond to all of these requests, but I often wish that they would partner with creators to help share a clearer understanding of the decisions and trade-offs that they make. That's just one potential benefit we could all take from this, but so far it's not something any company seems brave enough to try. There are many more like that. And that's all assuming everyone gets into it with pure intentions. It would be naive to pretend that this is true. For example, the company will be forever tempted to push just a little further to shape the narrative by rewarding creators who agree with the company line while freezing out those who don't, all to gain themselves control over what the community might think about the game. Some impose strict NDAs, which would probably fall down in a court of law. Some try to set up content approval processes so they can take direct control over what creators say before they even speak a word. Some add quotas or restrictions or offer extra rewards for creators who cover topics they want to gain traction. Creators who value their own authenticity may feel coerced to bow to these wishes, at least in part. Others may be in it for the clout or for the paycheck alone, and they'll happily toe the company line like they're an unpaid marketing department bowing to the whims of their executives. Most people in the audience are aware of this. They know the messages they're hearing are manipulated. They're left with a choice: continue engaging even though the experience lacks that essential verity, or move on entirely and lose out on the enjoyment they looked for in the first place. And of course, it doesn't end there. Companies often structure these things in ways which are actively hostile to creators. Some rely on confusion and lack of clarity. They target these programs at smaller creators who lack the experience to know what's acceptable and what is problematic. They change the rules on a whim, without explanation or advance notice. If you ever ask them for an explanation of how they calculate the rewards each creator earned, they'll tell you that it's proprietary information which they cannot share. You'll be unsurprised to hear that the companies who do this are the very same ones who will have asked you to sign a draconian NDA to join the program in the first place. One quirk they tend to put in place, which I find particularly distasteful, is when they make it all a competition. To use an example which was openly posted in public, take a look at the Genshin streamer program's reward tiers back in version 3. They ranked creators by specific metrics and gave out rewards based on where each creator ended up in the list. And yes, that was $20,000 going to the top creator. As I mentioned earlier, the mere existence of these programs gives an advantage to the in-crowd over everyone else. Structuring rewards as a competition emphasizes that problem. And while all of that just kinda sucks as a content creator, the ones who lose out the most are the community at large. Far from fostering a wide and varied creator sphere built on collaboration and shared interest, creator programs built like this will inevitably break those very things apart. As for how I've always approached these things, obviously, as I've said earlier, the fact that I've taken part in these programs means that many will struggle to take my word at face value. My hope was always that for anyone who actually engaged with my content, it would be blatantly obvious that I do not hold back. I personally value my authenticity above all the other stuff and honestly get pissed off when companies try to manipulate me. Take my Infinity Nikki videos, for example. I was part of their creator program and streamed it a lot on Twitch in the early days. After their horrific 1.5 update, which left the players feeling utterly betrayed, I posted 3 videos about the game. One detailing exactly why everyone was so angry with each of their decisions, one dissecting the statement they made in response and detailing how I completely avoided the most important concerns, and a third talking through alternative games that other people recommended to those who no longer want to support Infold. Those videos only covered the public-facing side of the fiasco, but suffice to say, things also got very messy behind the closed doors of the creator program, and that was in fact the moment I started to seriously consider leaving all these programs for good. It's a similar story when it comes to Genshin. I do not hold back on any criticism, whether that's for the exploitative monetization, the subpar storytelling, the disappointing characterization, and so on. I do praise the game as well, and explain in detail why I still enjoy it despite all of its flaws. But my goal is to share my genuine perspective, and I'd hope that this would be abundantly obvious to anyone who spends the time listening to my thoughts. But another layer of this, which made me feel uneasy, is the question of whether being part of a content creator program means you tacitly approve of everything the company does, which is where the EA creator program comes to the fore. EA is a gigantic company, and looking at them as a whole, I see a lot I disagree with. I don't like how they treat their employees. I hate how they buy smaller studios and then shut them down. It sucks that they rehash the same tired titles over and over, and I disagree with their leadership's perspectives on gaming in general. They're a clear example of how much has gone wrong with the industry at large. The same can be said about pretty much every gaming company outside of the indie sphere. It also applies to the vast majority of companies in the capitalist hellscape we call our home. On the other hand, I have had direct interactions with the people from the Sims team, and they always came across as genuine people. Their creator program was mostly pretty decent. They paid attention, they listened to community feedback. One time, they even added a new set of items to the game after someone from their team lurked in my Twitch streams and saw me using a mod in an unexpected way. They didn't always get everything right, and often their hands were clearly tied by bureaucracy, but much of the time they felt separate from the corporate behemoth behind them. In a world where everything sucks to some degree, how do you even figure out where to draw the line? Every person will have a different perspective on the morality of taking part in things like this. Personally, I don't have a problem with people engaging as long as they use their platform to highlight the problems and cover the downsides as well as the positives. Even if the companies don't listen, at least you tried. I always made a point to explain to people how they could enjoy The Sims without supporting EA. Now that they're going to be bought out by the Saudi Arabian investment fund, that's a whole different level of problematic. At this point, I'm just done with the whole concept of creator programs. I wish the world were different, but unless someone can come in and do it right, I just find myself disillusioned with the entire idea. I've left any that I signed up to and have zero interest in joining new ones. And that does leave one last area which echoes all of this: sponsored videos. It's always interesting to hear people's perspectives on how they differ from creator programs. Some feel that any sponsored video is fundamentally disingenuous to a degree that content in a creator program can never reach. Personally, I kinda feel both ways about them. I felt mostly comfortable with them on Twitch. A sponsored stream on there was always about exploring a new game together, trying it out for the first time, and sharing genuine reactions in the moment. I did that kind of thing regularly without the sponsorships involved as well, so anyone in my community would know for sure that my thoughts were authentic. On YouTube, I'm still a little unsure. I refuse to even consider any which I'm not genuinely interested in, and I make it clear to the company from the outset that while the sponsorship means I'll cover their game, the entire point of my channel is for me to share balanced and honest critique, and if they're not comfortable with that, then there's no point even trying. I'd hope that comes across in the tone and content of the handful of sponsored videos I've created so far, but I still find myself questioning whether the whole thing is worth the stress. If the company saw my finished video and decided to back out of the sponsorship due to my honest criticism, I'd have two options left to me. Either can the video entirely, or edit it to make it clear that it was sponsored, but that they backed out when they saw my critique. I'd probably be angry enough that I choose the latter, but then who knows what the consequences of that would be. But since I am so picky in the first place, the ones I've done so far are games I've genuinely been interested in. For example, Reverse 1999. Friends had recommended it to me constantly, and I just never got around to trying it until they reached out to sponsor me. I genuinely enjoyed it and still made a point to share my critiques. I still play it to this day and plan to make some more videos about its storytelling once I have the time. But that still leaves that big dilemma. The only person who can truly know that that's the case is me. So is it truly worth it? So far, where I've landed is that as long as I make it abundantly clear that a sponsorship was involved and go out of my way to give an honest critique, I can still hope to earn people's trust. At the end of the day, content creators are essentially creating free marketing for a company, so on some level, it does feel right for them to seek ways to compensate them for their work. It's just so unfortunate that the incentives and power structure end up so askew that there's little to no trust left at all. Whenever you find yourself watching content which is sponsored in some way, you are right to approach it with suspicion. Any creator who is genuinely worth your time will be aware of this and will go out of their way to make sure their content is still worth your time. Until next time.